Well, King Charles is the racist we've been trying to figure out all along. He was outed as the racist royal for wondering what his grandchild would look like from his mixed race daughter-in-law. This comes from the new book about the royals called Endgame from this seemingly quite obnoxious guy, Omid Scobie. A now tell-all book reveals that the royal family member who was previously unnamed, but now we pretty much can surmise who it was, from this Meghan Markle Oprah interview. Now, remember, this was late 2021 after Megxit, when Harry and Meghan quit the royal family and then moved to the U.S. And she indicated here that the royal family was racist against her unborn child while Prince Archie was still a fetus. Watch.
All around this same time. So we have in tandem the conversation of he won't be given security. He's not going to be given a title. And also concerns and conversations about how dark his skin might be when he's born.
What?
Okay, now why are we covering this? Because this is a show about geopolitics. Who cares about the royal family? The reason I want to cover this is because I find it to be the cheapest kind of race baiting, and the media loves it. Oh, the royals are racist. Meghan Markle's the victim. We told you white people are racist. Well, this new tell-all book was pulled from the shelves because it accidentally named the actual name of the royal person who said this, who said, I wonder what color the baby's skin will be. The author is saying it was a translation error that made it into only the Dutch version that was sold in the Netherlands. The English version is still on the shelves because it didn't have a name. Now, that's interesting. If you write a book and you write a sentence that somebody said this to Meghan Markle and then they corresponded about it later, how does that get translated in the Dutch version with King Charles said this? How? Like, how does a pronoun get translated into a name if he says it was just a translation error? That's not how that works. Here is the version that I could...
Isn't the Dutch for someone, King Charles?
Oh.
Isn't that their actual word for it?
Maybe the Dutch think everybody's royal?
I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. That could be it. I don't speak Dutch.
There's no other reasonable explanation for how King Charles would be named in one version, but he says he never actually wrote down the name. I call foul on that. Now, here's the translated version of the excerpt that's circulating online. The media is pretending that they don't know who it is, but it says, this is from the book, that during their conversation with Oprah, both Harry and Meghan declined to say who was present in that conversation. A representative for the couple only wanted to say that it was not the Queen or Prince Philip. And she had said, I think that would be very damaging to them. But in those private letters, an identity was revealed and confirmed that it was Charles. The king, sources say, wanted to respond to make clear to Meghan there was no ill will or bias when he spoke about it. He wanted to clarify something he felt was very important. So, okay, that's a name. Charles is written. I don't think Charles is a pronoun for him, but I don't speak Dutch. Here is the media pretending that they don't know, and then the author sort of indicating that it was Charles.
Are you able to share the two names that you know of?
Unfortunately, those are two names that I have to keep to myself for now. But I do wonder if that might change over the future. It does seem that Harry and Meghan have decided to put that to rest.
Do you think that we'll ever find out who that person or who those people are that allegedly made these comments?
The only way that we would ever find out is if a member of the royal family directly involved chose to say so on the record. We won't have any confirmation. That won't gain any further traction unless that happens.
Queen Elizabeth releasing a statement at the time saying the issues raised, particularly that of race, are concerning. And Prince William asserting we are very much not a racist family. Scobie claims that Meghan and Charles corresponded about the incident. And ultimately the Sussexes, he writes, still keep him in the loop on their family life, sending new photos of the children.
We know from sources that Charles was horrified that that's how Meghan felt those conversations were, and that he wanted to, sort of as a representative of his family, have that conversation with her.
Okay. So they sort of indicate that there's a second person now. They don't say who it is. They said in this book it's not the queen, but it's some kind of her. So two things here. This accidental naming of the racist royal was clearly not an accident. The translator doesn't even pull the name of that's bullcrap. And again, this is a shameless race narrative. Am I saying Charles is not a racist? I don't know. Am I saying that maybe he's been racist in the past? Again, I don't know. I don't read royal biographies to know that. I'm not saying he is or he's not racist. What I am saying that wondering what your mixed race grandchild will look like is not a racist thing to do. Meghan Markle presented this as probably this is the reason that my unborn child will not have titles or security because these two conversations happened during my pregnancy. She's extrapolating to the worst possible intention, and Oprah just sort of lets her do it. If you watch Oprah's response, which we're not going to play it again, but if you watch Oprah's response to her, she just says, well, who had that conversation? Instead of like, oh, are you sure that those things were related? Or maybe that's just normal musing of like, you have curly hair, he has red hair. Will the baby have red hair or curly hair? You know, so this racism could be just a grandpa wondering what the physical traits of the new baby will be like. And then does that make him a bigot to say like, oh, you're half black and half white, so I wonder if the baby will be dark like you or, you know, white like Harry and his Diana's horse trainer.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking, like, if my dad would have asked this question, he would have been like, oh, you know, because Natali is like part Latin, Hawaiian, like, is the child going to look like, you know, have Clayton skin, you know, like beautiful olive skin like Clayton, or is it going to look like, you know,
well, yeah,
little Hawaiian lady over here?
Well, my mom said when I was pregnant
and
with
would that be
first,
racist?
Well, I don't know. My mom said when I was pregnant with our first, I hope the baby doesn't have Clayton's eyebrows. And is that racist? Because she didn't want
it's
him
racist
to have...
against my eyebrows.
And, you know, again, I think that we're calling out racism. This is what's called orchestrated victimhood, right? Is that she's the victim because someone only just made it an illusion, a reference, a passing reference to her race. So why does she do this, do you think? I'm not sure that it's some kind of revenge, because I'm sure it sucks to live with your in-laws and they tell you what to do all the time, but she got out of there, right? So why does she need to hit back now? Does she think that speaking about these microaggressions, that she calls them, perhaps helps other people deal with racism? I'm going to say it doesn't. In fact, it only spreads the idea of microaggressions as racism, and that is not helpful. I think what she's doing here is emphasizing victimhood in order to qualify herself as someone who should speak on an international stage. This is called the Victimhood Olympics. Have you ever heard that term?
No.
It's like the more miserable your experience, the more status you would have. Now, here in a recent book is what Susan Nyman says about this in the book Left is Not Woke. She says that orchestrated victimhood is perfidious because it mocks the victims of real racist attacks. But I'm less interested now in the consequences than in the fact that they're even possible at all. What was recently a stigma has become a source of standing. Like, oh, I've really been through it. People treat me like crap. I know life because I've been the victim of racism. What painful origins and persecution were once acknowledged, as in Frederick Douglass's narrative, the pain was a prelude to overcoming it. Prevailing over victimhood, as Douglass did, could be a source of pride. Victimhood itself was not. The rash of contemporaries inventing worse histories than they experienced is something new. That's how I feel about that this is orchestrated victimhood. And there's no need to use this to hit at Prince Charles. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, like, when I watched the White House Task Force for Online Hate and Abuse, they referred to everyone who had experienced some kind of online hate or whatever as survivors.
Oh,
as if they had survived a war.
Right. Oh, someone left a negative Twitter comment. Are you okay? Did you survive?
You survived that?
Wow. How did you?
Like it's the
Right.
same. It's the kind of thinking.
Oh
it's
my
just
God.
Yeah.
The victimhood. Yeah, the left victimhood.
Right. And, you know, like Clayton mentioned, my mom is Hawaiian and Spanish. And so when we were having babies, you know, and our babies were born, my mom's like, oh, my grandbabies, they're so white because she comes from darker skin cultures. And so is that racist for her to say my grandbabies are white? She's pointing out how they're not like me. She's pointing out the difference in their skin, right?
Yeah.
And so I never thought that made us any kind of victimhood or victims to point out the differences. Like it's just a natural thing to say.
But if you would have went on Oprah and presented it that way,
right?
You know, Oprah would have said, "What?
Yeah.
What? You are a victim."
It's just so
Meghan."
natural to talk about what babies will look like when you mix two different, you know, genetic histories. I just don't understand how this is racism and it's getting national headlines. So let us know what you think of that.
Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.